Hi students, welcome to week 4. So this week is all about post-colonial theory. Now post-colonial theory is actually very simple, but people often mistake it for something quite complex because they often don't understand what post-colonial means or how it relates. So colonialism, as I'm sure most of you will know, was the practice by which many countries, dominant countries, large countries, would go about, often in the 1800s, early 1900s, but of course we can stretch it back as early as Christopher Columbus in the 1490s. We all know that he discovered America. He was a colonizer, as it were. This is where colonizers would effectively go into a country that was not their own and decide to make it one of their own colonies. Now this had great benefits to the colonizer, obviously. They were able to take more territory. If you think about the Caribbean, colonizers from the Netherlands, England, all sorts of places in Europe went in and took land that just wasn't theirs. But of course the colonized people suffer. Now this sounds obvious now, but of course it wasn't so much obvious then. Whole swathes of literature have sprung up to address the problems that happened from colonization. So if you think about it, from the Caribbean we have slave narratives. From we have Heart of Darkness, which is arguably a discussion about what happens when white European countries like Britain and Holland and also France went into a place like Africa and said, oh hey, we'll take this, we want this ivory, we'll have it for our own. Now whether you think Conrad was trying to argue that colonization was something wrong, or whether you think he was supporting it, and Achebe, our reading for this week, touches on this, what he's doing is post-colonial, because he's talking about a colonized nation afterwards. It's post-colonial. So post-colonial literature examines colonized nations after they become free from colonial rule. So if you think about it, North America is a great example. Obviously, Native Americans were colonized. Post-colonial literature looks at the negative impact of that colonization, but also some of the positive things that Native American people did to try and assert themselves in their own culture again after they were effectively subsumed by colonization. So post-colonial literature is all about addressing these problems that come up from colonialism. Post-colonial theory asks, how can we start to notice patterns and tendencies and ideas in this literature? The text that you're looking at this week is by Chinua Achebe. He's one of the most famous post-colonial theorists of all time. He's also very controversial. He argues outrightly that Joseph Conrad is a racist and that any attempt to talk about Africa in a positive light or the natives is purely done because he's trying to buy into the whole European liberalism in which it was fashionable to feel some sort of pity or care, care in quotes, for the people who were being colonized. Achebe argues that Conrad was, quote, a thoroughgoing racist. Now whether or not you agree with that is up to you. You don't have to. For the record, most people don't agree with it, but again, what you believe is totally up to you. But it's a really good post-colonial reading because it's very explicit, it's very to the point, and Achebe makes no bones about saying exactly what he thinks. I've also got a reading in there from Edward Said. Now, I didn't ask you to read Said, so don't panic, but I have just included a couple of quotes that might help you to think about how we can view the Congo in relation to the dominant colonizing country of Great Britain. I'm going to get you to think about that in a few slides' time. In this lecture, I'm also going to be talking to you about completing assignment 2, which is due at the end of this week, and it's a very, very simple, nice, easy assignment for you. And assignment 3, which is your final essay, which is due on Tuesday of the final week. Okay? Again, if you're not doing the online course, your final essay has a totally different due date, so ignore that. All right? Okay, fantastic.